Chosen one, you have sensed the muffled hum of a hidden truth your entire life. Those who redirected you from that one locked door were protecting a fraud that is finally crumbling. The reality is surfacing. There is a family secret they don't want exposed, that's not your biological father, or they stole your inheritance. Your real name and your true legacy are returning to you now. Let me take you back, not to a tragedy, to a mystery. You are young. You are at a family gathering, a holiday, a reunion, one of those occasions where everyone is supposed to be present and warm and together. The laughter is real. The food is real. The connection between certain people is absolutely real, but something is off, and you feel it the way children feel things, not with analysis, but with the whole body, a chill that has no source, a silence that descends in the middle of a sentence when you drift too close to the wrong conversation, adults who look at you with an expression you do not have words for yet, not hatred, not cruelty, something stranger than both. Guilt wearing the mask of warmth. You ask a question. Maybe it is about your father. Maybe it is about a grandparent whose photograph you found in a drawer that nobody ever displayed. Maybe it is about land, or a house, or why a certain name is spoken in hushed tones or not spoken at all. And the adult you asked, a parent figure, an elder, someone with authority, does something telling. They do not just change the subject. They change the atmosphere, and it recovers so quickly you almost wonder if you imagined it. You did not imagine it, but you are a child, and children adapt. Children file the unanswered question away somewhere deep and go back to eating their food. They grow up, they build their identity on the account they were given, and somewhere they cannot fully articulate. They carry a weight of things that were probably nothing, except they were not nothing. They were everything. Here is what you need to sit with. There were moments growing up when you looked at the person you were told was your father, or at the family structure you were told was yours, and something in you did not fully accept it. Not with rebellion, not even with conscious doubt, just a quiet, persistent sense of misalignment, like wearing a coat made for someone else. It fit well enough, but it was never quite right. Other people around you moved through the family identity with ease. They belonged to it in a way that felt natural and settled. You watched that ease and sometimes wondered what was different about you, why you felt like you were performing membership in something rather than simply having it. Now you know, you were not misaligned from the family. You were misaligned from the lie. Your instincts were working perfectly, rejecting a false identity, because your real one, the one connected to a bloodline and a legacy they deliberately severed you from, was still alive inside you, refusing to be replaced by the fiction they handed you. Your body knew before your mind did. Your spirit knew before either. And consider the person who occupied the role of parent in the false account. Either that person knew the biological truth and chose to participate in the deception, looking you in the eye your entire childhood, carrying a lie about the most fundamental thing a parent and child can share. Or that person was also deceived, also fed a false account for reasons that served someone else's agenda entirely. Either way, the relationship stood on ground that was never solid, and some part of you always felt that instability, even when you could not name the source. That false parent arrangement was not incidental, it was load-bearing. It held the entire cover-up in place. As long as another person's name was attached to you legally, the estate and the inheritance had no legal mechanism to reach you. The biological lie and the financial theft were the same crime executed simultaneously. One shielded the other. The false parentage was the lock on the vault that held what was yours. That is why the truth about who you really come from is not just emotionally significant, it is legally critical. The moment that biological truth is established formally, the entire foundation of the theft begins to crack. Remove the lie and the legal architecture built on top of it has nothing left to stand on. There was a person, and before I tell you who this person was to you, let me tell you who they were in the world, because it matters. They were not nobody. They had built something, land, property, generational assets. the kind of wealth meant to outlast a single lifetime and extend forward through bloodlines. They were established, their name meant something in the community. They also made a choice that complicated their legacy. They loved someone they were not supposed to love, and from that union, complicated, messy, human, a child came into the world. Maybe that child was you. Maybe that child was your parent. Either way, the line runs through you. If this resonates with your inner knowing, hype this video to help fellow chosen ones find their way here. The important thing is what happened next, because here is what those who inherited the official account do not want you to know. That person did not disappear. They did not pretend nothing happened. They sat with the weight of their choices and made a decision that terrified the people around them. They decided to provide. They decided that the child who carried their blood was going to receive what every child of that blood was entitled to receive. Documents were drawn, a will, an arrangement, something that said clearly, this one, make sure this one gets what is theirs, and then that person died, and the moment they did, the clock started. The person left standing, the one who held the official account together, saw those documents and understood immediately what they meant. They meant a shift, a redistribution. They meant that a child who had been kept invisible was about to step into the light, carrying paperwork that validated everything. A decision was made in the window between the last breath and the world finding out. A decision that would shape your entire life without you ever being consulted, informed, or given the chance to know what was coming for you. The will was altered, or buried, or favors were called in from people who knew how to make official things unofficial. The estate was divided among people who had no rightful claim to your portion, and the truth was locked behind a door you were never supposed to open. You felt that door your whole life. Now you know what was behind it. This was not done alone. That is the part that stings most when you finally let yourself see it clearly. Help was needed, and it was found, from people you know, people who attended your celebrations, people who embraced you, asked how you were doing, and looked you in the eye with full knowledge of what had been taken from you. A coalition was assembled, and the currency used to build it was simple, a piece of what was stolen. Certain family members received an offer. Help keep this quiet, and you benefit. Stay in line, hold the account straight, redirect the questions, and there is something in this for you. And one by one, people who should have protected you made a calculation. They weighed you against the money. They weighed your truth against their comfort, and they chose their comfort. Not all of them were cruel. Some told themselves it was already done, too late to fix, that reopening it would cause more harm than good. Some convinced themselves they were protecting you from a complicated truth you were better off not knowing. Some were simply cowards who needed a justification. Look, you already know the attacks weren't random, and if you're paying attention, you can feel it. Their walls are closing in. You've also noticed something else. A lot of Chosen One channels on YouTube have gone quiet. Videos removed, voices pushed off the platform. The mainstream media is cracking down on us, but we will not give up our voice. So let's talk about what we're doing about it. That's why I built Destiny Engine, and when you join, you're not just supporting your favorite channels, you're also fueling your own rise. It's a 360 win. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity and repurposing it to serve cooperative intelligence. The beauty is, you don't even have to lift a finger. You put on the headphones, press play, and your subconscious is rewired while your enemies collapse under the weight of their own lies. This is why I created it in the beginning, so everything they did to break you becomes fuel for your purpose. The collective upgrade is underway. Start your Destiny Engine for $7 today and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. But here is what every single one of them did. They looked at you, at a child, at a person building a life on a falsified foundation, and they chose silence, year after year, celebration after celebration, embrace after embrace. And the architect of all of this watched you struggle and felt nothing but relief. Every year you spent in financial difficulty was another year the secret held. Every time you were too overwhelmed to investigate your own origin was a victory for the people who robbed you. They needed you financially depleted. They needed you confused. They needed you just destabilized enough to never sit still long enough to ask the right questions with the right support behind you. Outside people were recruited as well. The legal maneuvers made were not improvised. There was access to people who knew how to make certain records disappear. Someone could be made to appear on your behalf without your knowledge, signing things, confirming things, closing doors you never knew were open. The cover-up moved across legal systems and across distances that made it harder to trace. This was not one desperate person acting alone. This was organized. This was a machine, and you were the only one who did not know it was running. Here is what you need to understand about that machine. Lies require constant maintenance. Every passing season, someone in the coalition needed reminding of what they agreed to. Someone drifting toward honesty had to be pulled back. Someone needed to be pressured or reassured, because people change, circumstances change, and the longer the maintenance continued, the heavier it became for everyone carrying it. That burden is now unbearable for some of them, and when a machine built on lies starts losing parts, everything accelerates toward collapse. There is one more layer to this you may not have considered. The operation against you was not only about keeping documents hidden, it was about managing your reputation so that if you ever did begin asking the right questions, the people around you would be less inclined to take you seriously. The whispers about instability, the suggestions that you were difficult or unreliable, that reputation was not entirely organic. Some of it was deliberately planted by the same people who needed you discredited before you ever had a chance to discover what you were owed. If you ever went to someone with the beginning of the truth, if you ever said something about your origin not adding up, the groundwork had already been laid for that person to dismiss you, to frame your perception of injustice as a personality flaw rather than an accurate recognition of real wrongdoing. They did not just steal from you, they preemptively undermined your credibility, so the theft would be harder to expose. That is the level of calculation you have been up against. And knowing it matters, because it means you do not argue with the people primed to disbelieve you. You let the evidence do that. You go straight to the processes and the professionals who operate on documentation, not on reputation. Keeping you financially depleted was not enough. Keeping you in the dark was not enough. You were still out there, still alive, still, and this is the part that truly frightened them, still inexplicably standing. That was a problem, because chosen ones have a way of rising that does not require the resources stolen from them. You kept moving. You kept healing from things that should have finished you. You kept building without the foundation they removed. And every time you demonstrated that manufactured hardship had not broken your spirit, the ground shifted slightly beneath the people who robbed you. So the approach escalated. Think about the attacks that came from directions that made no sense to you at the time. The relationship that seemed designed to drain you in a targeted way, where someone knew exactly which doubts to press, exactly how to keep you just unstable enough. The opportunities that evaporated with a precision that felt almost deliberate. The seasons where your mental clarity seemed to be under pressure from an external source. Something was being done. And then consider how your parentage itself was weaponized against you. The false biological identity placed on record served a purpose beyond replacing the truth. That false identity was a legal barrier. As long as the official record said your bloodline ran through a different person, the estate belonging to your real bloodline had no legal pathway to reach you. The secret and the theft were not two separate crimes, they were one operation. Every time you got close to questioning your origin, you were not just threatening a family secret, you were threatening the entire legal architecture constructed to keep the inheritance from your hands. That is why questions about your parentage were shut down with such force and such speed. Pull on the biological lie and the financial fraud comes with it. When spiritual interference was added on top of everything else, paid, commissioned, specifically targeted, the goal was singular. They needed you to collapse from the inside. They needed a specific kind of news to reach them, and they were prepared to receive it with celebration. Instead, you outlasted every single thing they sent. The estate had been distributed. The documents were altered or destroyed. The account held by the coalition was solid. Every person who knew was bound by what they had received. And you, the rightful heir, appeared to be exactly where they needed you, confused, financially pressed, disconnected from your own power, nowhere near the truth. They celebrated, not with restraint, with the full confidence of people who believe they have secured something permanent. They spent what they stole. They built plans on wealth they never earned. This is the classic moment in every powerful arc where the opposition appears to have won completely. The throne has been taken. The rightful heir is somewhere far away. Not because the heir lost, but because the heir has not yet been shown what they are truly carrying. Here is what the architects of this scheme failed to calculate. You are not just the heir to a financial inheritance. You are the heir to something they cannot touch, alter, redistribute, or bury in any courthouse. You carry gifts, the ability to perceive what ordinary eyes cannot see, to feel the truth of a situation before the evidence appears, to receive guidance and protection from a source entirely beyond their reach. And those gifts were strengthening right through everything they sent against you. The pressure that was supposed to crush you was activating something they had no framework to understand. Dark work sent against a protected target does not simply dissolve. Spiritual law operates with a precision that outpaces every human court, and the accounting, the return of what was sent, began the moment it failed to land on you. The coalition is fracturing, not because of anything you forced, not because of a confrontation you staged, purely because a deception of this magnitude, held by this many people, over this much time, develops its own gravitational pull toward collapse. The weight of what each participant knows does not stay static. It compounds, it finds the weakest point, and pushes until something gives. And paternity fraud paired with inheritance fraud has a specific aging problem. It does not become cleaner with time, it becomes more complicated. The participants in the original cover-up now have children and grandchildren of their own who are asking about family history. The original deception requires an expanding web of secondary deceptions to keep it intact. The person at the center must now manage not only their own silence, but the inherited silence of people who were not even alive when the crime was committed. That is exhausting, and exhaustion is what produces mistakes. A letter surfaces in the wrong place, a photograph with handwriting on the back, a saved message on an old device that was supposed to be gone. The legal record, the paper trails that the law itself requires to exist, contains inconsistencies that a focused and competent set of eyes will not be able to overlook, signatures that raise questions, witnesses whose accounts no longer align, a probate process that was rushed in ways that, examined carefully now, reveal the pressure applied at the time. The person who organized all of this can feel the structure shifting. Calls have been made, the kind of calls you only make when you are reinforcing something you suspect is weakening. Those calls are themselves evidence. Meanwhile, in the spiritual dimension they tried to use against you and failed. The accounting is running further ahead than any human court. What was commissioned against you did not penetrate. The energy redirected by your protection has been working its way through the lives of the people who sent it. What they are calling bad fortune is not random. What they are calling illness has a source they will not name out loud. What they are watching dissolve around them is the precise return of what they aimed at, a chosen one who was never going to fall the way they planned. They thought they sent a weapon. What they actually deployed has been sitting in their own yard, growing. Stop receiving yourself as someone who was robbed. That is the old account, the one written for you by the people who needed you in that posture. The version where you are at the center of a tragedy, focused on what was taken. That version serves them. It keeps your attention on loss, rather than on what you are carrying. And what you are carrying is the thing that changes everything. You have been developing under pressure that would have ended most people. Every season of manufactured hardship, every period of deliberate confusion, every stretch of time where you had to build without resources and navigate without a clear map, those were not punishments. They were the most rigorous preparation available, custom built for someone who was going to need to be extraordinary when the moment arrived, and the moment is arriving. Understand this. Ordinary people do not get this level of coordinated opposition. You do not mobilize a coalition, hire external interference, commission spiritual attacks, manipulate legal documents, and maintain a decades-long cover-up against someone who poses no threat. You do that against an heir. You do that against someone whose very existence challenges a power structure built on a stolen foundation. Your existence has been the threat all along, not your actions, not your ambitions, just you alive, carrying a bloodline they tried to sever, walking around in a world where the truth you carry in your body is the one weapon they have never been able to confiscate. You did not survive what they sent. You were built by it, and the version of you standing here right now, clear, awake, in possession of a truth they spent enormous resources trying to keep from you, is more formidable than anything they prepared for. You are not the tragedy, you are the turn. A multi-person cover-up looks like a wall. It presents itself as solid, but it functions more like a pressure system, truth pushing from inside, lies compressing from outside, the structure between them under constant invisible stress. And when that structure gives, and it always gives, it does not crumble gradually. It releases all at once, catastrophically, for everyone standing on the wrong side of it. That release is close. Someone who was part of this has already said something they were not supposed to say, to someone who should not have heard it. That exchange has already occurred. The information is already in motion somewhere you cannot yet see. There is another participant who is preparing a confession they have not yet delivered. They have rehearsed it. They have gotten to the edge of saying it and pulled back, but the weight of what they know is no longer something their body and conscience can contain in silence. And when they finally open their mouth, what emerges is going to reorder everything. Here is what you need to understand about how inheritance fraud collapses specifically. When one person inside the coalition confesses, they do not confess only for themselves. Every person who signed something false, every person who received assets from an estate they had no rightful claim to, every person who witnessed something and remained silent, all of them become exposed the instant the first account breaks. One confession is not one person unburdening themselves. It is a key that opens every lock in the entire structure simultaneously. The person who built all of this understands exactly what a single confession means. That is why they are in crisis right now. They are not managing a secret. They are managing a structure with fractures in it, and the energy required to hold it together is energy they cannot keep spending. And here is something specific about paternity fraud that you need to hold on to. It is one of the very few deceptions that biology itself can permanently and scientifically dismantle, not based on memory, not based on a document that can be contested, based on what is in your body, something that does not deteriorate, cannot be coached, and cannot be altered retroactively by anyone's version of events. The biological truth about who fathered you has existed in every cell of your body from the very first moment. No legal maneuver could erase it. No coalition of silence could make it biologically untrue, which means the entire fraud has always had its fatal weakness sitting inside you. The biological evidence that undoes everything they built has been present and intact your whole life, patient, permanent, waiting for the moment you had the clarity, the resources and the will to bring it into the formal spaces that cannot dismiss it. You are not a passenger in this. You are the central figure, and the central figures who actually win do not win by collapsing under the weight of what they discover. They win by receiving the truth, holding it with precision, and moving from a place of absolute authority rather than open wound. Here is how you move. You move in silence. The people who stole from you have held the advantage of your ignorance for a long time. The moment you signal what you know and what you are pursuing, you give them the opportunity to shore up the remaining accounts, coordinate the last statements, and attempt to move assets. You do not give them that. What you know stays contained until it is time to bring it into a setting where their silence cannot protect them. You move with documentation. Every piece of the real account that reaches you, you record it, date it, preserve it. You build a record of what you knew, when you knew it, and how it came to you. When this enters the formal spaces where it belongs, your record becomes part of the legal foundation. Start constructing that foundation right now. You move with the right professionals around you. Not everyone, not a wide circle where your information can be carried back to the wrong ears. People with specific expertise in estate law, probate fraud, and the legal establishment of biological parentage. You do not need volume. You need precision in the exact disciplines this situation requires. You move without making public claims before they are formally established. The process of proving biological truth, of contesting a manipulated will, of demonstrating probate fraud, these are processes that live inside legal frameworks, not in family confrontations or public forums. The moment you claim publicly what has not yet been verified formally, you give the opposition a way to frame you. Let the evidence make the declaration, and when it does, let it be undeniable. You move without letting anger become your operating system. The people who wronged you have earned every consequence coming to them, and your anger is valid, completely, entirely valid. But rage narrows your vision to the object of the rage. And right now you need the widest possible field of perception. Justice is the destination. Clarity is the vehicle. Stay in it. You also protect your spiritual state with the same intensity you protect your legal position. The people who tried to interfere with your mind and your peace understood something, your discernment, your perception, your connection to the source of your protection. These are your most irreplaceable assets in navigating what is ahead. A depleted, anxious, spiritually disconnected person is far harder to guide than a grounded, clear, covered one. Whatever practice keeps you aligned, prayer, stillness, time in nature, intentional spiritual work, that is not optional right now, that is central. The clearer your internal state, the sharper your ability to recognize the right moment, the right door, the right move when it appears. Before we arrive at the restoration, you need to understand the complete scope of what was taken from you, not to stay in grief, but to move into reclamation with a full understanding of what a complete accounting means. Generational wealth is not money in the present, it is infrastructure across time. It is the initial capital that allows someone to build equity rather than pay rent indefinitely. It is the reserve that lets you take a calculated risk that a family with nothing in reserve cannot afford. It is the legal resources that allow you to fight when you have been wronged rather than settle because you cannot fund a prolonged process. It is the safety net that ensures a health crisis or an economic downturn does not bring the entire structure of your life down with it. Every one of those things was withheld from you, not by circumstance, by design, and the compounding effect of that withholding, across every decision you were forced to make without adequate resources, across every version of yourself that had to stay smaller than it could have been because the foundation was stolen before you ever stood on it, is incalculable. The real cost of what was done is not only what was in the estate at the moment of distribution, it is everything that wealth would have generated in your hands and in the hands of those who come after you. They did not just take money, they took the trajectory of your life. They took the version of you that exists in a world where the will was honored and the truth was told. That version of you, more resourced, yes, but also more rooted, more confident, more capable of moving through the world with the particular authority that comes from standing on ground you actually own. That is the version they spent so much energy preventing. Because that version of you would have had the standing to ask questions, the stability to investigate, the credibility to be taken seriously in the legal spaces where this belongs. So they went back to the origin, the inheritance, the biological truth, the foundation, and dismantled it before you could arrive. Here is the power in seeing this clearly. When the restoration comes, you will not accept a partial return. You will not be managed into gratitude for less than the full accounting. You will walk into that process knowing exactly what was taken, and you will not leave without everything that carries your name. They took trajectory. You are going to reclaim it, and you are going to build faster than they imagined, because you have been doing the impossible without the resources that were yours all along. Imagine what you build when you finally have them. While you have been building, something has been unraveling on the other side. The kind of sustained guilt that comes from this level of sustained wrongdoing does not remain in the mind. It migrates into the body. It disrupts sleep. It generates the specific kind of internal deterioration that money cannot fully insulate against, no matter how much of it was acquired through theft. Some of the people who participated in what was done to you are dealing with conditions that have no clean explanation, and in their private moments they understand the source. The wealth that belongs to you is not settling into the lives holding it the way stolen wealth never settles. It creates friction. It generates instability in precisely the places where stability was supposed to be the reward for everything that was done. Some of the participants have acquired everything they wanted and found that what they wanted does not perform the way they planned. The comfort purchased with your portion has been uncomfortable. The legal exposure is developing in ways the participants cannot fully monitor or contain. Estate fraud investigations do not announce themselves in advance. By the time those under investigation understand the full scope of what is coming toward them, the accumulation of evidence is already too significant to dismantle quietly, and the people who have begun to quietly distance themselves from the coalition, the ones recalculating the risk of staying versus the cost of separating, their withdrawal creates gaps. Gaps produce exposure. Exposure accelerates the next fracture, your name. Not the name placed on you as a fixture of the false account, the one underneath it, the one attached to the bloodline they tried to cut you out of, the one that appears or should appear on documents they altered, in records they suppressed, in a will they modified before it could do what it was written to do. That name has weight. It is connected to land that was worked and held across seasons and generations. It is connected to a lineage of people who built something real with the belief it would reach forward through blood and through time. That name carries you in it, even when no one has spoken it to your face. Even when the people who knew it chose to call you something else, something that made you easier to contain, easier to dismiss, easier to keep away from what was yours. They do not vanish because someone removes them from a document. Biology cannot be edited retroactively. The blood in your veins carries the evidence of where you come from in every cell, and the world now possesses the legal and scientific tools to establish what the blood already knows, in a format no court can dismiss. What was removed from the record can be returned to it. What was erased from the legal account can be reinstated by the truth that has always existed. When your name is restored to the places it was taken from, when the official record finally reflects what has been biologically true the entire time, something shifts in you that goes beyond the legal and the financial. The misalignment you have felt since childhood, that persistent sense of wearing an identity that was never quite built for you, begins to resolve, not instantly, but genuinely, because you will finally be standing inside your actual truth. And think about the people on the other side of your real bloodline who have been living with their own version of absence. Relatives who knew or suspected and were given a crafted account of why there was no connection. Some of them accepted that account and moved on. Some of them never stopped sensing something unresolved. Some may have been actively reaching, sensing the absence of someone who should have been present in their lineage. Your biological truth does not just restore you to a bloodline, it potentially restores a bloodline to you. People who carry the same blood, the same spiritual inheritance, the same gifts. The wall between you and them was built by fraud, and fraud, unlike blood, does not last. The people who erased your name believed they were removing something permanent. What they actually did was force your name to build pressure behind the surface, pressure that now returns with a force it would never have carried if they had simply let the inheritance reach you the way it was intended. Your name is coming back, and it is returning with far more authority than it was ever supposed to carry quietly. They spent years and resources and energy trying to prevent this moment. They traded their peace, their health, and their integrity for the temporary comfort of your stolen portion. And after all of it, every coalition meeting, every covered record, every commissioned interference, every desperate act of maintenance on a lie that was always going to crack, here you are, standing in full possession of your clarity, your gifts, your protection, and the truth they could not bury permanently. That is not luck, that is a verdict. Go collect what is yours, the wealth, the land, the biological truth, the name, every piece of the inheritance they believed you would never be strong enough to claim. You are strong enough. You were always strong enough. That is the one thing in all their calculating, all their coordinating, all their years of effort, they never found a way to take from you. Chosen one, go.